I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. So I had an interesting conversation with a neighbor, and we were talking about, a little bit about the channel and the kind of subjects and stuff. And they asked me if I was familiar with the Voynich Manuscript. What? And they just told me a little bit about it, and I was like, I gotta go learn about this in depth and make a video. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And hopefully that right there tells you I'm not a historian or any kind of expert on the subject. But I took a little deep dive just now because it is so interesting. And I even made a prop to show you. And also I have with me over here my iPad, and I'll show you some pictures on it. So I have myself a little latte. So maybe get yourself cozy, and we'll have a little talk about the Voynich Manuscript. Oh, that's so good. So good. All right. So what this is, if you're not familiar, is a handwritten and illustrated book. I believe it's leather bound, and the pages are made of Valium? Is that what not Valium? Valley? Uh-oh. Anyway, it's made basically out of like animal skins, and they have used carbon dating on the materials of the book to date it back to, and with 95% accuracy, they say 1404 to 1438. What? So that's totally interesting. And they think it's probably was originally written in northern Italy. So it's a 240-page book, a little thicker than my prop book here. And it has all these illustrations of botanicals and other things we'll talk about. But what's super interesting is it has writing. And when I show you this writing, it's fascinating because it's so neat and orderly, and you would definitely think that is actual language. But nobody can decipher it. Like, people think maybe they're getting there, but they don't. I don't know if they are. So that is what we're talking about. Now, the reason why I can show you pictures on the iPad is because there is one copy, and it is currently housed in a library at Yale University. So that's kind of cool. And they have digitally, taken pictures of it, and you can look at every single page on their website. And I look through a lot of them. But now we'll go back to around, the late 1500s, right? And the Emperor Rudolph II of Germany, who at the time was the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, he is brought this booklet. And it is thought that it was brought by a man named John Dee, who apparently owned it. And John Dee also owned all these other books by a man named Roger Bacon, who was from before their time, but he was a friar and a scholar, and he was known to understand like botanical and alchemy and ancient mysticism. I don't know, things like that. So Roger Bacon was sort of a fascinating topic for a lot of the kind of wealthy people in that time. So this emperor, the Holy Roman Emperor, Rudolph II, purchased it probably from John Dee. But there was another man named Edward Kelly who was kind of like a known con man, and some people think maybe it could have come from him, but whatever. He purchased it for 600 gold ducats, I don't know, which is like $30,000 today, so it was an expensive thing. And he, you could kind of just imagine. I'll use my little prop here. So he looks through this thing, and there are these illustrations. And the first part, like I said, it's 240 pages. The first part is botanical illustrations, but they don't quite look like, I don't know, any botanical I've seen around. But they would have always have the big roots on there, and the leaves and the flowers. And then there were some illustrations, I didn't quite do this one all the way, that were astrological, it would seem. So there'd be maybe a goat on the inside, and then images of people kind of outside of the goat, or faces. Nothing threatening, I wouldn't say in any way, in anything I saw. Just sort of interesting, random, drawings. And I wouldn't call them great works of art either. They're sort of like the plants look almost like folk art that you'd see, kind of whimsical, maybe I would call it. We'll look at some in a minute. So there was botanical, and there was some astrological or astronomy. I don't know what you call this kind of stuff, like circular diagrams with some zodiac kind of symbolism, things like that. And then the plants, yeah, they're kind of like things you haven't seen, but they don't look too outrageous. And then, sort of interestingly, there's a bunch of images of women, and in the Yale text, they kind of describe the things. And they say with swollen abdomens, maybe pregnant, maybe just of that time. Honestly, when I looked, I didn't feel their abdomens were that swollen looking. But I didn't look at them all. But what's interesting about the women is they have tubes that seem to be connecting them in different ways to other tubes. And the women almost look like they're, you get another pen, sort of floating in a green liquid. So if they're pregnant women, it's kind of interesting. They don't look upset, or they're just floating around in their green liquid, and they're connected by these tubes. And that feels to me like a connection to nature or something, but what do I know? I'm just I know as much as anyone else who's looked at these things, I imagine. And then the text is real loopy. Here's kind of my version of the text. It's like these loopy letters, and every page has text written on it. And some words appear multiple times, so it feels very much like how, languages where, of course you're going to have repeating words. But the thing that makes it not feel quite like a real language, and maybe it's just sort of a made up gibberish, but I don't know, is, and this I read, that a lot of the words that are used multiple times are real long words. And that is, it's not just unusual, it's kind of unheard of in languages of the world, because usually the words you use often, like the, and, it, at, they're small words. And there aren't repeating small words, just the bigger words. So, I don't know. I don't know. But we haven't even talked about why it's called the Voynich Manuscript. Well, the Roman emperor bought it, and it appears like he maybe gave it. There's sort of a chain. It was gifted and gifted again, and then it was kind of lost track of for a while. And then in 1916, a man named Wilfrid Voynich purchased it from a Jesuit college near Rome. So it was in that Jesuit college. And he purchased it from there in 1916. And he hung on to it. He was a rare book dealer, by the way. But I think he's the one who alerted the world to it. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think he did. But it's named after him. And so he owned it until his death. And then in 1969, his widow was Ethel, but the executor of the estate was Anne Nill. And I'm not totally sure who exactly made the transaction, but there was a man named H.P. Krause who purchased it from the family. And he also was a rare book dealer. Apparently a pretty well-known one in the, 1970s and stuff. But he tried to, well, let's say, first of all, he purchased it from them for $24,500. Plus, and this is interesting, I thought, half of future sales. So if they were to ever sell it for a ton, the family would get half of future. I thought that was kind of a good deal. But anyway, H.P. Krause tried to sell it during the, late 60s, early 70s, multiple times. And he was trying to get like $160,000 for it, I think. But because it had nobody knew what it was about, really, because no one understood it. It just didn't have a big market at that time. And so he finally kind of gave up on selling it, and H.P. Krause, donated it to Yale University. And that's why it is now there at Yale in their library. And it's called like the Benecke Rare Book Library. I could be saying that wrong. But what's interesting about that library, because I was looking it up, they said it's a really cool place to go because they used a marble for the walls, and the marble lets in like sunlight, but there aren't any windows, so the books stay protected from UV ray, but you get this beautiful like lighting. I was like, I want to go there. That sounds really cool. So anyway, that's sort of, where the book has been. So yeah, okay, so there's the section with all the women. There's also a pharmaceutical section that sort of shows like all these bottles. We won't be able to go through all this because on the Yale Library website, I'm sure there's a way to do it, but I can't figure it out on my iPad how to like flip pages. I have to go through page by page, so I didn't see all that, but you can kind of Google it and find out. Now, here's the thing with the text, because you might be like me and go, I'm going to crack this thing. There are a lot of people who want to crack it. First of all, people have been trying to figure it out since the Roman emperor had it. This has been a fascination all those years, like hundreds of years. And during World War II, there was that code breaking team. Alan Turing, he had like these code breakers during World War II, and as sort of a side entertainment thing. I think it was just a hobby thing. I don't think it was like, but they tried to crack the code and they couldn't. And of course, there have been tons of just, what do you call people? Cryptographer, I don't know. People who try to break codes have tried and tried and tried. And then recently, there have been some stories coming out that, like, by using the botanical end of it, they looked up, like, where would these plants be from and what about them, and tried to connect the words to the plants. And there have been people saying that they have decoded it, but I could not find anything that really holds up, that any of that holds up. Like, people said it's Turkish, and people who know Turkish language going way back are like, nah. And I don't know, just a lot of that kind of stuff. Anyway, and then now they're trying to have AI programs go through it, but even AI has said, don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things. Do you really want it solved? Oh, I also heard about this one guy who said he got a message from God and he knows what it is, and it's a botanical text. I don't know why that's funny. The idea that God has spoken and said, yeah, it's stuff about trees and stuff like that. Okay. Anyway, trying to think of what else. Oh yeah, and then there's of course always people who conspiracy theory it and think it's like aliens brought the text down and dropped it off. The problem with the alien theory is that they did these carbon dating tests on these things, and they're all not even carbon, like chemical analysis, because the carbon dating tells you what time period it's from pretty accurately, but the chemical analysis told them everything, that the paper, the book cover, the inks, or whatever, the coloring, it's all from, Earth. From Earth, yeah. So that's kind of interesting. And then some people wondered if Voynich himself made this as a fake rare book. But when he found it or bought it in 1916, they didn't know yet about carbon dating and all the ways we can test things. So fakes from that time period would have used materials of that time period and just aged it or whatever. But these materials carbon date from 1404 to 1438. So he would have to be pretty future seeing to go, I gotta make this legit, like, nah. I heard one thing where they said, well, it could be, by the way, I'm using these are nice, they're oil pastels. I I always like using these. I think you can also get them wet and use them. Anyway, they, what was I just saying? Hold on, it'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. Wait, what was I saying? Oh, it was important too. Oh well. You know, so that John D, who sold it to the Roman emperor, he was kind of an interesting figure because he was big into astrology, and he was the like official astrologer for Queen Elizabeth I. And so he was really running in those circles. And so I kind of wondered, like, could he have created it as a hoax? Because, you know, these people, they kind of made their money off of the rich people believing all their stories and stuff. But I think because of the carbon dating, it really leads you to believe, no, it was made in the 1400s for sure. So, I don't know. Some of that hoax stuff, I don't know. I did see, like, in 2018, there was a university, which color do I want to use this one, maybe, of Alberta, and they said that the first sentence reads, "She made recommendations to the priest, man of the house, and me, and people." But most people are like, no, no. But I do think it's kind of interesting to look at the botanicals and say, okay, at that time period, where would this have grown, and what would it, you know? There's also a section like on pharmaceuticals. They have all these bottles and the pharmaceuticals. I don't know. But that team in Alberta was the one who said, like, a lot of the words are Hebrew and are found in Hebrew dictionary. But I think Hebrew scholars chimed in and went, no, I don't think so. So I don't know about that. There were some newer theories. I didn't read them all. I don't know. But I don't think it's been figured out. Anyway, here's my beautiful picture of a botanical. So one of the things, they all have these like roots, like lots of roots, and then the women are interconnected, you know, with these like these cylinders and tubes. So I feel like it's interconnection is a lot of it, but I don't know. And you know, some people think maybe it was just for fun, just like a game, like how Dungeons and Dragons has sort of languages and stuff. I don't know, do they? I can't remember. I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons since the 80s. My son plays every week, but and I kind of would think, you know, back then there could be a lot of boredom. I wonder if it was somebody, here's my theory, I have a theory, who drew the pictures and thought that's fun, like a teenager, right? And didn't know how to write. They weren't taught how to write, but they had seen writing. And so they just kind of, it would be like pretending to speak a language you don't know. Like maybe they just wrote what looked like a language to them. But then, see, that's where people are like, well, no, because the words are the same under the same things. But I don't think that's impossible. That, you know, I don't know. Anyway, okay. Okay, let's look at some pictures of the actual. Let me put my colors away here real quick. Oops. I like this color and this color together. I like that in clothing and that like teal and red. All right, let me see if I can bring it up. Hold on. Oops. Okay, so this is on the Yale website, and you can go here and look at this. So, okay. How long will it take to load? I don't know. And there are some notes that they can see like under UV light that prove like who sold it to who and see. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can make this better. Bigger. Nope. How do I make? I don't know. Come over this way. Look, I copied that one. Oh, shoot. I knocked my coffee. Sorry, guys. See that? I kind of copied it. And they're the roots. This root, doesn't it almost look like a wild foot or something? And then there's the language. See how like loop-de-doop-de it is? And sometimes when I'm looking at it, I feel like I can almost read it. That's like how legit it looks. It looks like if I sat here and stared at it, I bet I could read it. There's another botanical. See, the problem is I don't know how to skip pages and it takes too long. More botanicals. Let's see. How do you skip pages? And the colors are mostly like greens and kind of this reddish brown and blue. I assume just all things you could get from plants. I'm trying to find a nice clear. Oh, come on. Picture the writing. I feel like I saw some here. Hold on, I need a sip of my coffee before it gets cold. Oh man, that is so good. This looks like a violet. All right, let me see if I can see how to skip a page. Go small. Nope. I think if you went to Yale, you'd probably have to get special permission to look at this with a librarian, I'd imagine, but I don't know. See how they all have the roots? That almost looks like allium, but that looks like the monstrato. What's that monstrasso plant or whatever it's called? Okay, hold on. Let me pull up Voynich Manuscript Women. We'll put that in. Images. Okay, here we go. So like here's one. See all the women, they're in like this green pool, and they say their abdomens are distended or whatever. I don't know about that. They look regular to me. But anyway, so they're all in there, and it's not like sexual or anything. They're just like swimming around. But then there are these tubes that go to these cylinders or something, and then it turns into like this beautiful flower. Wait, are they not showing me the whole thing? Okay, hold on. Let's see if we can get a better view. Well, here's a different one. So see, they're always kind of in these pools of green. Look at this one. It almost looks like a queen. And then there are all these women. And there's a connecting thing. And she's in like a bathtub, like she's just getting in. And she's just getting in. She's doing the backstroke. And then they're doing like a little conga line or something here. And then it looks like on the shore there's like a, I don't know, you think that's like a sun? Or is it, do we think this was by a woman? Because men would make it more, I think this a woman made this thing. That's my new. A woman wrote it who was not allowed to learn language. So she just kind of pretended to know a language. And just wrote it in this beautiful script. Because look at how pretty the script is. I mean, look at these letters here. Look at that. That's my theory, guys. Okay, hold on. What's this one? Hold on. Sorry, I don't have these like ready. See all these women in the green pool. I feel like they are all holding hands. And there's like energy coming down from above, putting into the green pool. All right, that's it. I've made my decision. A woman wrote this thing. And it was probably in the 1400s. A young gal. And she'd seen her well-educated brother is writing stuff. And she just thought, I'm going to make a book. And I'm going to write. And it's kind of gibberish, but beautiful and perfectly printed. And she did give them names. She probably gave her plants certain names, so she'd use those. Maybe it's astrology, or maybe she's more like all the humans are circling the animal. Let's look up an astrology picture one. Hold on. That's weird. Look, I didn't do anything in this game of all these watches. What? Because that's what they called as astrology, but I'm not as convinced. Okay. This isn't clear enough. I guess it's astrology, because there's the crab. That's the one I kind of drew right here with the goat. But it still looks like women in their little tubs of green water. What is that all about? Why are they all in tubs? What? I don't know what that is. I don't even know if that was from there. This one I kind of drew. It's like a face. And then it's like, these almost look like windmills, like the red is the curved part to catch the wind. And there's stars. I don't know. What are all these? These are the different things in the centers. There's a goat, and another goat, and another goat. A male and a female. It might be a cat. I don't know. A scorpion kind of thing. Look, Pisces. How long have these symbols been around? Not Pisces, but what's the scales? Libra? I don't know myself. That looks like that. Oh, and he's got a bow and arrow. Huh. I don't know. Couple. There's the goat. And some fish. I guess fish. Fish is Pisces. I don't know. All right, well, I'm sure I forgot to tell you a lot of stuff. So yeah, so there's like the botanical or herbal section, and then the astronomy and the like women in tubes. And then there's like pharmaceuticals, like jars and containers. And then there's a whole section that's just text with no illustrations, which is kind of interesting. So, have you guys heard of this thing? What do you think? Tell me all your theories on it. I don't know. It'd be pretty cool, though, to find an old book like that. You'd be like, wait, what? I actually have an old rare book that's got botanical stuff. That's kind of cool. Maybe someday I'll show it to you. I don't know. Oh, I missed a page. I didn't do these pages. What else could I draw? I don't know. You know what? I like my theory that it's a woman, though. This may change everything. Maybe I'll break the code myself. If it were my book, I would put a kitty cat in it. Kitty cat. Oops. This paper's hard to draw. My son just adopted a kitty, from the humane, not from like a shelter, I don't know which one. And it's got this tail that's like really fluffy and like a fox. And she's got kind of long hair on her ears. Yeah, she's the one that bit me. But I think they might be, I was looking her up, she might be a Somali cat. I'd never really heard of that before, but they have like a fox-like tail. That's kind of hard to, but then she's got calico or something in her. Alright, that's what I'd put in my book. And then I'd say, this is a labradoodle kitty cat. Yeah, it's hard to do the language because, let me see where, it's like all the letters are so, nonsensical.